The Lord is with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Jesus told his disciples a parable about the necessity for them to pray always without becoming weary. He said there was a judge in a certain town who neither feared God nor respected any human being. And a widow in that town used to come to him and say, "Render a just decision for me against my adversary." For a long time, the judge was unwilling. But eventually he thought, while it is true that I neither fear God nor respect any human being, because this widow keeps bothering me, I shall deliver a just decision for her, lest she finally come and strike me. The Lord said, "Pay attention to what the dishonest judge says. Will not God then secure the rights of his chosen ones who call out to him day and night? Will he be slow to answer them? I tell you, he will see to it that justice is done for them speedily. But when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on the earth?" The Gospel of the Lord. Could it be that today's gospel about the parable of the widow pestering the judge until he gave in and gave what she wanted, could it really be suggesting that we ourselves have to badger and pester God until we get what we want and need? Luke's parable today is given by Jesus to emphasize the necessity of praying always and not losing heart, not giving up, and not giving in. It really has much more to do with the one praying rather than the one being prayed to. For we know that God is not someone who is waiting with crossed arms and a sour face, reluctant to do anything without badgering and pressure. God knows what we need even before we do. Now, this persistence in prayer refers to how this single-mindedness on our part helps to remind us how just and merciful and compassionate God is, and also how we can be changed, how we can become a new person when we are single-minded and persistent. Okay? Some might call it stubborn. Okay? We can see that in today's gospel, the widow indeed has a just case. She is truly in dire predicament. This is evidenced by the fact that she is pleading her own case. This is not the custom in those days. In those days, the male member of the family would plead the cause of the female, the woman, in that patriarchal society. So most likely, it was the family of her deceased husband who was reluctant to give her her rightful inheritance. And she had no other means, no other recourse than to plead and persevere to the end. Her very life depended on her not giving up. One commentator wrote, "Few things require as much persistence as speaking an inconvenient truth at an inconvenient moment to those who refuse to be inconvenienced." I can see this widow on the third tier of the Olympic Games, holding her medal in her hands, the medal for perseverance despite all odds. I'd like to share an antidote, a personal antidote, that touches with this gospel and also touches with the upcoming Sunday, which is Mission Sunday. I'm very much a missionary at heart. You may not be aware, but our official name of the Paulist Fathers is the Missionary Society of St. Paul the Apostle. We are missionaries. And I find my missionary work involved quite a bit in my missions to the Dominican Republic. I've led over 40 missions down there. And I've seen the destitution, the living conditions of people that are living in misery. But I've also seen their lack of recourse when it comes to any kind of oppression against them. They don't have the money for an aspirin, much less a lawyer. So I share this antidote. When I lived in Boston in the 80s, I went to the trial of an immigrant who was in danger of being deported. Deported to a country which would likely torture and kill him when he got there. Witnessing the trial, I was astounded at the bullying attitude of the judge, his lack of any respect for a human being, just like the gospel pointed out. I was so angry at this injustice that I went home and I wrote a letter concerning the judge's belittling attitude to his superior judge, to his boss, outlining step by step the abuse of authority that had taken place, that I had seen. I've received a letter from that superior judge saying that the case would be reviewed. And later I heard that the judge I wrote about received a severe reprimand after the review of the court system. And that this judge was not very happy at all with me writing a letter. One of society's unwantables received justice from a court system that many considered untouchable. Perseverance. I clearly see the widow in today's gospel as a wonderful teacher for us. She teaches us not to be overawed by the powerful who seem to have the last word, not to give permission to the corrupt to rule our lives, but to be stubborn in our commitment for justice. She refuses to accept the fate assigned to her by her social position or by the stubbornness of the judge. She refuses to play the role of the silent, mourning widow, resigned to her loss, not willing to give any protest. No, she stands center stage, taking on the world of patriarchal power until she eventually succeeds in winning recognition for who she is and for her rights. This woman teaches us the art of holy protest. crying out to each one of us here who we all face issues of injustice all around us, crying out to us, telling us, keep standing up for justice. You are never alone. The God of justice is working through you and with you and in you till the very end. As Jesus said so clearly, let those who have ears to hear listen.